What's going on, y'all? It's your man, point guard Stephen Bartle, coming to you for another live show with Next Chapter Forward. If this is your first time here, I'm your point guard, Stephen Bartle, former professional basketball player, NBA overseas, and also former college basketball and NBA television commentator. I did that for 25 years, and last April, I just felt like I had enough. I needed to get out of the United States because I was going to choke out one of these races that I encounter on a regular basis. And I made the decision to move to Mexico. And 10 months later, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And so this is my mission, to help other Black men over 50 years old seek greener pastures that may not be in the United States for you. It could be somewhere else around the world. And that's what the Next Chapter 4 community is all about. So I'll give you a chance later on in this live show to go ahead and join the community. But just to give you a sense of what we're all about. Again, this is my background in a nutshell. And guys, let me explain something to you. I had the perfect job. I mean, I was making really good money calling college basketball games and NBA games on national television. I've worked for every network that covers basketball that you could think of: ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox Sports, ESPN, Big Ten Network. Did I leave anybody out? I think that's it. But every network and I also covered WNBA. I covered women's basketball, Chicago Sky, for 8 seasons. So I've covered every level. I had my dream job, but getting removed off of a flight on my way to work was the last straw. And I got into it with a racist flight attendant. I ended up getting a settlement from that airline, and that was another sign that it's time for me to get the hell up out of Dodge. And so that's what I did. I moved down here last April, and I have not looked back. So things are well, and it's a beautiful thing. So let's get to the discussion. All right. Where are we here? All right. PTSD to peace, right? What are we really talking about, guys? And, PTSD is talked about in terms of people who are going through trauma, people who have been through a traumatic experience, maybe people in a war-torn area, people who are prisoners of war. Those type of things are really associated with PTSD. But from my experience, guys, PTSD applies to our everyday living in the United States as Black men. Okay? We're talking about the daily micro and macro aggressions and traumas that we have to navigate as Black men in the United States every single day. Every day you walk out of your house, there's a shield that you have to put on. And when you travel internationally, like I do, you have to put that shield back on when you hit that U.S. airport, whichever one that you come back into the United States in. You have to put that 75-pound shield on again. Because if you don't, that means that you're not conscious. That means that you really don't understand what's going on with Black men in the United States. Okay. Your very neighborhood that you have to navigate, the place that you go to work, the neighborhood that you move around in, guys, we have to be hyper vigilant at all times. You may just you may compartmentalize it and have a great way of disguising it and not showing your fear or your hypervigilance or your anxiety to make sure that everything is safe. That shit gets exhausting, guys. And it's 24/7. We code switch. There's threat assessment out there. It leads to cost and exhaustion because we have to be on high alert at all times, right? So here's a quote. You don't have to have been diagnosed to know something isn't right. If you feel lighter when you travel, gentlemen, and heavier when you return, that's data. That's not just some random feeling that your body is alerting you to. That's data. That's letting you know that, yes, you're now conscious of putting that vest on in the United States and taking it off when you're able to travel. Okay. All right. So that's the first one that I want you guys to understand. Here's the second piece, the geography of healing. Now, I get a lot of people, guys, who talk to me after I make posts or lives like this, or I, do my shorts, and people will, these racist crackers back in the States will have something to say in the comments about, oh, you're soft, you're running away. Run away from what? From mass gun shootings, of which there's been 26 already this year in the United States. And by comparison, I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but guys, the propaganda that has been put forth about what's happening in Mexico it's eye-opening. For me to be on the ground and to see what you guys are seeing, but to know the reality on the ground it's one example of our lives in the United States, guys. We are lied to and propagandized to so much that our central nervous system and our ability to decipher messages, we get it so much, guys, that we filter that stuff out. We think we do, but it sticks in our subconscious. I'll give you an example. When I lived in Chicago for 27 years, there would be mass shootings that would happen. There would be periods of violence that would happen in Chicago. There would be 51 people shot in a weekend. I didn't get one message. I didn't get one call, one email. Hey, are you okay? Are you safe? But I'm in Mexico, and the sensationalized media and what they said took place on Sunday, and the fallout of it was incredible. The lies compared to what was actually happening here in Mexico, it was incredible. And it made me kind of sad because that happens to us every day in the United States. Okay. And let me make myself clear here. I'm not anti anything. I'm pro-black. See, when you're pro-white or you're pro anything else, that means you're anti everything else. That's not what this is. I'm not anti anybody. I'm pro-black. Okay. And so the propaganda, guys, that we get is incredible. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Guys, as we talk about the geography of healing, do you know that Black men's suicide rates are rising? I didn't realize this until I started doing research around this topic. And it's the fact that the suicide rates are rising for Black men, but the places of support, the level of support is diminishing. There's an opportunity there. And that's what one of the things next chapter forward is trying to address is this feeling of desperation, of isolation, of exhaustion, of PTSD that we all feel from time to time, whether we allow our bodies to express it or not, is interesting. Okay. The opt-out effect. What happens when you remove yourself from the trigger environment? Okay. So what these white guys were saying to me in the comments is, oh, you're running away. You're not fighting. Fighting for what? Running away from what? I'm running away from the triggers that put me in anxiety, that put me in exhaustion, that put me in a hypervigilant state. That's what I'm running away from. Right? We're strong enough to do anything. Black men in the United States, Black people in the United States are the strongest individuals in the world, and it ain't even close. It's not even close. What we went through in the slavery era, what our ancestors went through, I have a notion that most of us are not from Africa. We're indigenous to the land of the United States. The so-called Indians, we're the Indians, guys. In the Cowboys and Indians movies, the Indians were Black people. Those are us. If you think I'm wrong, Go to New Orleans about this time. I think Mardi Gras is around this time, or maybe March or something. And you'll see these black people dressed up as Indians. And I always wonder, like, what is the significance of black people dressing up as Indians in New Orleans, the blackest city in the United States? Okay. We were here first. And so we got renamed. They took our land. They took our heritage. That's why black people, this is my own theory. That's why we won't ever get reparations until we change our status in the United States. Black doesn't afford us anything. The only reason I use black is because that's what's been put on us for the last few decades. Okay. And it helps us quickly identify who we are. But I would really rather call us the copper colored people of America, because that really describes us much better. But I digress. So when you're looking at the opt-out effect of leaving the triggered environment that is the United States for black men, okay, you want to lower cortisol. Cortisol is what makes all of us wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with a panic attack. Cortisol floods your system when you're stressed and you're full of anxiety. We need to lower that. We need to identify the recalibration. What does that mean? Who you are when you're not performing survival. You know, there was a lady that I dated for years, and she's an educational reading specialist, doctorate. And she mentioned this a lot of times, where she's a reading specialist. She works with inner city, particularly young black boys, to get their reading skills up to par. And what she said to me was, and she was almost in tears, because she told me this a couple times after dealing with parents and dealing with black children trying to read. She said, what would happen to our black boys if they didn't have to walk around and act tough? What would happen with our black boys if the ones who were really smart and weren't hip and were a little bit out of the social scene, but just kind of individualistic? What would happen if we supported those boys? What would our society look like right now? Great, great questions, right? That's identity recalibration. What will you look like when you're not trying to survive on a daily basis? When you're not trying to code switch? When you're not walking into a store and trying to make yourself look innocent? Think about that, guys. I've caught myself doing that. I'm trying to look innocent. I'm trying to have my hands where people can see them. I'm trying to step away from the merchandise. You hear how crazy that is? But I know each and every one of you have done it, if you think about it. Okay? Sleep restoration. What does sleep restoration looks like? That 2 to 3 a.m. panic attack that I talked about looks like a 7 to 8 a.m. wake up smelling coffee brewing, or the sun coming through the blinds and naturally waking you up. The brother that I'm going to talk to you guys about later, John, who I met, and he posted on Facebook, so I can say his name, John Key. John is, I'm not going to get all into his business. JK has done very well for himself in the field of education, and he's bought himself some time. And you know, John said something that I'm gonna utilize for the rest of my life, I think. You know what he said? He said, I wake up when I'm done sleeping. He said that could be 6 in the morning, that could be 8 in the morning, that could be 11 a.m., that could be 1 p.m. He said, I get up when I'm done sleeping. How dope is that? Like, I'm actually going to put that on a piece of something in my place that I can see that every day. Okay, let me guys give me an example of what I'm talking about. Hold on. So guys, this is what I put up around. This is my athletic background, my basketball background. I give myself, and it's self-discipline equals self-love. I have this up, and this one I've had for years. Success is never owned. It is only rented. and the rent is due every day. I'm going to say that again. Success is never owned, it is only rented, and the rent is due every day. This was a quote from Rory Vaden, very good author about self-development and self-development and achievement that I live by. Okay. So that statement from John, I want you guys to consider putting that up in your house. Consider seeing that every day. Because although you may not be able to do it right now because you're still working, if you can see it, you can envision a future of being able to do exactly what John does. Think about how liberating that is, guys. Right? Okay. Let's keep it going. Community redefinition. I totally flipped my community when I moved down here. Okay. I didn't lose touch with the people back home, but I gained a tremendous group of Black men. There's 40 of us that are in this group. And between 3 to 8 of us go to dinner every Thursday night. Okay. So the community that I've developed down here, there's sisters, there's a nice Black community here in Playa del Carmen. So I got sisters now who I'm cool with. I got the group of brothers. I'm making friends with Mexican locals. I've got Canadian friends. I've got some American friends that are down here that are non-Black, right? But I've redefined my community. And guys, my community here, I'm not trashing back at the crib. But what happens is in the United States, man, we're so tied into the grind, the hustle, get it out of the mud, rugged individualism. Guys, that never served people of color. That's a European concept. That has never served people of color. I'll give you an example. What happened Sunday here in Mexico when the cartel leader was taken out and the people in the cartels were protesting his killing by setting cars on fire, setting buses on fire. They set a couple stores on fire. They sent gunmen into the Puerto Vallarta airport to shut the airport down, to scare people, right? But what happens in Mexico, when that happens, the community starts to rally and they start to message each other. They start to message older people. Do you have enough food? And so the community will start to cook for those less fortunate. And then they go give this food to those people less fortunate. That's real community, guys. That's a community we used to have in the United States in the 70s. That was the community I grew up in Carbondale, Illinois. It was very similar. When there was a tragedy or trauma that's taking place in the community rallied together to check on one another, to cook for each other, and to shelter each other. That took place in the 70s in the United States. That doesn't take place anymore. That still takes place here in Mexico. That's why it's so appealing for the Black Americans that live in the Quintana Roo state, which is Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Yucatan. There's over 5,000 Black Americans in this region because community in Mexico is so strong. It feels familiar to us. Okay. That's what community redefinition looks like. Okay. All right. All right. Moving forward. Let's see. We are on the pathway framework. All right. Let's check out this framework. So stage one is recognition, guys. Something's got to give. You know it. You've had a health scare. You've had a divorce, a job loss. And you're just waking up exhausted. Something's got to change. And you're thinking that you need permission to survive. You're thinking that, man, me looking outside the United States, there's something wrong with that. No, there's not. Guys, relocation and travel and migration is taking place since the beginning of humans being on this planet. It's not a foreign concept. And it's been happening it's been happening in the humankind history. But to show you how backwards they have us thinking in the United States is that I think over half the black population doesn't have a passport. Guys, for those of you that are listening, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to make you think that you're ignorant. But if you're an American citizen and you don't have a passport, you're really limiting your options as a citizen of the United States. I'm advocating that black people utilize every advantage that the United States gives you. What is that? A passport. The U.S. passport is number 10 in terms of the number of countries that you can be allowed to come into visa-free. I believe Singapore, Malaysia or Singapore might be number 1. The Swiss passport might be number 2. They get their people that hold those passports can get into more countries around the world visa-free than any other passports. U.S. is 10 on that list. So if you don't have a passport, you're already making U.S. dollars. That's an advantage. It won't be an advantage in 5 years, but right now, while you still can, it's still an advantage. You can play arbitrage, meaning even though the dollar has dropped against the peso here recently, it's still 18 pesos to 1 U.S. dollar. It's not going to be like that in 5 years, guys. But in this window, you can still take advantage of it, okay? So get your passport. Get your money right so that you can get options like Lance and John, who I met with yesterday. These brothers have options because they've taken care of themselves. They've made good choices around their money, and they have passports, okay? 2, exploration. How many of you guys, put in the comments, how many of you guys have taken trips thinking about, let me look at this place to relocate? And don't feel bad, because most of us don't. Most of us go on these trips to get a break from the United States, to take the 75-pound weight vest off and sit on the beach all day because people are exhausted. One of my best friends, Ty Bryson, love him to death. It's my man, 100 grand. Me and Ty were born in the same place. Our dads were best friends. They played college basketball together, the whole 9. So Todd, every time this brother goes on vacation, and I've been with him a few times, we took our families to Puerto Rico. This was right before COVID, or a year or 2 before COVID. And we rented out a big fat crib. Man, this thing was like 6 bedrooms, big pool. It's nice. We did a lot of cooking. It was a great trip. We would go out during the day and venture out in San Juan. We went to El Yunque National Rainforest. We'd go to San Juan. We'd go to Humacao. What's the place in on the southern part of the island? Bayamon. We would go check out all these places, right? Todd would stay at the pool. We would leave and he'd be on the floaty in the pool, and we'd come back and he'd be in a lounge chair knocked out. That's the reality for a lot of Americans when they go on vacation. But what I want you guys to think about is an exploration trip, a scouting trip to look at a place that you might want to be in. Like John mentioned yesterday, he's going to start taking trips that are at least 2 weeks long because he wants to see what it's like when you get past that 3 or 4 days of vacation time. Okay, now, these days start to stack up. What does that look like? Start to get those scouting trips. The proof of concept trip, when you notice you slept through the night. That's the exploration, okay? Third part of this framework, stage 3, strategic relocation. Build the bridge, okay? You're not running away from anything. You're running towards peace, okay? You're not running away from anything. Don't let people tell you that you're a coward or that, oh, you got to stay and fight. Fight for what? How about fight for your self-dignity and respect? How about fight for your life, literally? Okay? So think about that. Building a strategic bridge, financial preparation. Guys, if you're 50 plus and you want to relocate, and you can't generate at least $2,500 a month, then your options they're limited. They're not, you do have options, but they won't necessarily be in the countries that we highlight here in Next Chapter Forward, where I take the top 13 or so countries around the world that have the highest number of Black expats living successfully in. And those are the countries that I target, and I suggest other Black men who are wanting to come into the Next Chapter Forward community. I encourage Black men to look in those particular countries, okay? But financial preparation is key. You've got to have a baseline, in my opinion, of $2,000, $2,500 a month to live your best life in your next chapter, okay? And then the beauty of social media, guys, is that Facebook groups are amazing, especially for relocation purposes. You can go find Facebook groups in any country that you want to relocate. Join those groups, start to look at the conversations, start to ask questions, get them answered, and you can make online connections with people before you even go and scout the country, okay? That's strategic location. And step 4 is embodied peace. This is who Stephen Bardo is now. He's not the quick trigger guy that would curse somebody out if he thought he was disrespected. It's not the guy who walked around with anxiety, traveling at 1 o'clock in the morning through an ice and snowstorm to get to the next damn game. I'm not the Stephen Bardo who was exhausted in February and March towards the end of college basketball season because I've been traveling and calling 50 to 60, 70 games in a 3.5, 4 month stretch, guys. That's with travel. That's with preparation. That's with calling the games. That's with everything. That's an exhausting life. Now, I loved it, but that's not who I am now. You know who Stephen Bardo is now? Slow walking, slow eating. If I'm meeting somebody and I don't get there on time, oh well. I let them have the way that they're going to view me through their lens. I ain't got shit to do with that. I'm living, this is Stephen Bardo now. I don't have to, I'm not on television. I'm not worried about how people perceive me or being careful about what the networks think of what I'm saying. I don't have to deal with that shit no more. I'm my authentic self, my authentic bohemian, hippie, intelligent, pro-Black self. That's who I am now. That's what Mexico has allowed me to discover and become. And every day that I'm down here, I'm becoming more of that. Okay? What's your new baseline going to look like? What creativity will return to you? What kind of relationships can you develop, or can you go and repair broken or damaged relationships that are meaningful for you? And can your purpose clarify? Can you get a renewed sense of purpose once you've embodied this piece? Okay. Put in the comments what you're going to look like, what you think, what you envision, what you want. Compare your now to what you want to look like. Okay. And guys, look, I've become the elder that I needed. I needed to be grounded, present, and at ease. I was none of those in the United States. I would have periods of time where I was in the off season when I wasn't traveling all over the country back and forth. When there were times when I was able to meditate on a consistent basis, I was able to move at my own pace. I was able to be present, but it was only small periods. But right now, this is my reality. I'm grounded, I'm present, and I'm at ease. And I've become a resource for Black men. Nothing makes me happier. This is true purpose, guys. I love college basketball. I love NBA. Basketball's been my life. I always love it. But 25 years on that treadmill of a grind, it was enough for me. This purpose that I'm in now, this is sustaining me. Guys, I could get up and trick off and play my pubics and masturbate all day and get drunk and high if I wanted to. I could do that every day, all day. But I've got purpose now. I don't wake up with an alarm clock. I get up around 6 or 7 every morning. I get right into my meditation, prayer, workout, and then I get into my day's work. But this is who I am now. And this is not who I was before I moved here. Okay. Put in the comments what you're going to look like, not where you are now. Put in the comments what you're going to look like. What's going to change from your life now to what it's going to look like when you get to your place. Okay. And then number 4, is the reality check. What does that look like? The reality check. What piece is not? You can't outrun your trauma, but you can outrun your triggers, like we talked about earlier. Bad days happen everywhere. Peace is the dominant frequency. So I've had bad days here in Mexico, but my bad days pale in comparison to what people are going through back home. My bad days are something's off in my thinking, or I've been watching too much social media, or I've let something with my family fester and bother me a little bit more. That's what a bad day consists of here. It doesn't consist of getting pulled over by the cops when you're fully suited and booted at gunpoint, like I've had happen. It doesn't look like going to work, calling a WNBA game on the road. We used to have to go into the WCIU television network studios in Chicago to call the games from the studio because they were road games, right? So it's a secure building, and I'm going in to go to work. And it's the summertime in Chicago, guys. I got a sport coat. I've got a briefcase on. I'm clean shaven. My hair is colored because, I'm on air. So there's a Latino woman coming out of I'm thinking she was a Latino. She was coming out of the door. I got out of the doorway, held the door for her, and she looked and she said, "Well, I can't let you come in." I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm calling the game for the Sky." As I'm explaining this, guy, she tries to close the door as I'm holding the door open. So if she could have gotten there to the door, it would have cut my hand on the door jamb. And I'm sitting there explaining to myself, and as she swivels and tries to slam the door, the only thing that popped me back to reality as I'm explaining myself, because it happened so fast, is that my arm locked. I'm holding the door and she's trying to close it, and my arm locks, and that snaps me into reality. I said, this trick is trying to slam my hand in the door. So what did I do? I still had my hand on the door. I reached with my other hand and almost ripped the thing off the hinges. She was smart enough to jump back, and I called her everything but a child of God, right? This instance of a pregnant Latina woman trying to keep me out of a building that she didn't own. She worked there, right? So after this incident, I go in and call the game. I don't say nothing to nobody, whatever. Later on that night on Twitter, her family goes on Twitter and is saying, "Oh, wow, WNBA, you're supporting a man that abuses women." I mean, they went in on me, guys, right? And that's a bad day in the United States. And it came back where I was taken off the air because these same people told TMZ called Fox Sports and Big Ten Network. They took me off the air for a week. That's a bad day in the United States. I don't have those days here, okay? Thank goodness. That's the difference. Not isolation. Building new community is essential, right? That's what Next Chapter Forward is for you Black men who want to get in a community of like-minded Black men to support one another, to compare notes like me and Lance and me and John did yesterday, okay? To support one another, to laugh, to have this common energy, because, guys, we're so unique that when we get together, sometimes we don't even have to communicate, but we still know what each other's saying, okay? That's what this is about, all right? Part of this reality check, guys, and this is the hard stuff, grief work, mourning what we left behind. even if it was toxic. So I had to mourn my friends in Chicago. I had to mourn the thought of being in another country away from my family. Now, I've overcome that because, guys, geography-wise, Mexico's another state. It's right next to the United States. From Chicago to Cancun is quicker by an hour than Chicago to Los Angeles on a flight. So that geography thing, especially if you're in Mexico, and the proximity to the United States is more like a state. You're in another country, but it's not like you're in Thailand or you're in Africa or something very, very far away. You're not. So I was able to overcome that. Identity reconstruction, just what I was telling you. Who are you without that armor? What do you look like without that stress, that anxiety, that code switching? What do you that hypervigilance? What do you look like? And then the financial discipline. These brothers I was talking to yesterday, Lance via the free throw 15 calls, and John, where we met at Bloody Mary, one of my favorite spots because they get 2 for 1 beers in the afternoon. We met. These brothers have financial stability. They have peace because of the decisions they've made. Now, if you're over 50 and you want to relocate your brother and you don't quite have your financial house in order, you can change that very quickly, guys. Okay? But it takes disciplined effort and consistent decisions to get you where you want to be. But if you're not there, 18 to 24 months of diligent work and education, you can get there. Okay. All right. So that was the framework, guys. And I want to invite you guys to join the Next Chapter Forward community. Okay. It's a community of brothers over 50 who are interested in relocating outside the United States to find the best place for you to thrive, to take the armor off, to put the PTSD down, to lower the cortisol levels in our body. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me put this up. Let me take this off. Now I'll get to your questions. Thanks for being patient, guys. And thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. What's going on, Deshaun? Yeah, they're right. I always run away from BS. That's a good one. Deshaun, you don't mind me using that, do you? That's really, really good. Yeah, they are right. I always run away from the BS. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining in. Society would respect us more. What do you mean by society would respect us more? Can you elaborate on that? I'd really like to touch on that. Okay, what's up, Manny? Good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. JDP Builders, what's good? What did you think of the Philippines? Guys, I'm going to keep it real, okay? Because you guys took the time to tune in. The brothers that live here that are in our group in Playa del Carmen, pardon me, 3 of them have lived in Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines. They said Philippines got the baddest women. They said they got some of the prettiest women in the world. I'm taking a trip to the Philippines because that's what I've heard. JDP Builders, give me the intel on that, please. All right. Oh, my boy, Steph. Steph took a trip to the Puerto Rico. Okay, Steph, that's what's up. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Good to see you. I'll see you soon. This is my brother-in-law, guys, and he'll be coming to visit in Mexico soon. I'm not going to give all his information, saying what he and his family are doing, but you all will see them soon. Oh, wow. Okay, so Namdi, thanks again, brother. You are consistent supporter of Next Chapter Forward. Thank you. I appreciate you. Listen to this, guys. This is extremely important. Think about your future building in a currency that will be stronger against the dollar in a few years. Mexico is a fantastic investment opportunity. Do your research, guys. There's a reason I'm here. There's a reason why I'm trying to establish connections here. Okay? There's a lot going on in Mexico. Okay? And I want you to consider something. I'm going to give you a scenario. Consider this. In real estate, the powers that be that have a lot of money that do the bigger investment projects, they are typically tied in with government entities. So they kind of know what's going to happen before the regular people do. I saw a video talking about how Jewish people are investing heavily in Mexico right now. Why? Because what some Jewish investors do, they wait for cartel activity. They wait for news of U.S. possible invasion of Mexico. They look for these headlines that they know will bring the perceived value down of property and land in Mexico. And they know that these things are going to happen in advance. So what do? They stockpile their money in advance. So when these things do happen, like this previous Sunday, the cartel leader is taken out, and to the outside world, it looked like Mexico was on fire. That damages the credibility of Mexico investments greatly. And although 99% of it was false, it does the work for people who have the bags. So what they do is they go and secure the bag. They go and get the property after the cartel activity here in Mexico, people canceling trips, people too scared to come down and take advantage of the tourism now. These investors come in and invest. So Nambi's spot on with that. Okay. I like this. In 5 years, I want to gain more spirituality. I want to continue and increase my love, respect, and dignity for all, no matter their race or social position. I want to show more kindness. JDP builders, that right there. We should all aspire to do the same thing. Very well said. Thank you for sharing that. All right, this is our last scout trip. I'm on a solo mission to lock down. Okay, well, Steph is telling you what's happening, y'all. So my family's going to join me here in Mexico. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate you, brother. The Filipino people are genuine. They have close families. They have get together and cook for the whole neighborhood. I was a missionary there for a period of time. They are some of my favorite. Boy, Filipino people sound a lot like Mexicans, sound a lot like Thailand people, sound a lot like Vietnamese, sound a lot like South Africans, sound a lot like Colombians and Panamanians. Y'all see what I'm getting at? And Portuguese. See what I'm getting at? This is a common theme, guys, outside the United States, right? Close families, people cook together and get together, support one another, extremely nice to one another, because they're not living in constant fear, constant threat of that thing that melts. Fear from the media that's in cahoots with the government to keep us fearful. Yes, this happens in other countries, but nothing to the degree that we experience in the United States. Okay. Here's JDP Builders is giving us the goods, guys, on Philippines. Okay. He's 18 years older than his Filipino wife. This is not looked down upon in other parts of the world, fellas. This is not unusual. It's not unusual here in Mexico. I've seen it in Costa Rica. I've seen it in Panama, Colombia. I didn't see it in Venezuela so much because, in my opinion, Venezuela has the prettiest women in the world. I was too busy looking at the women. And I'm not a misogynist, guys. I'm not like one of those guys that demeans women. I don't do that. But I'm an old school man that's full of testosterone. And when a beautiful woman walks by, I look. They know I look, right? I'm looking. Venezuela has the prettiest women in the world. So I wasn't paying attention there. I was too busy doing this. Okay. So it looks like I got to the questions, but guys, I wanted to share something with you about the meetings yesterday. So Lance is a guy that's already moved to his place. I'm not gonna share where he is until I can get permission from him to possibly interview him or get permission to go to utilize his example in greater detail. But he's already there, and he just wanted to get some time and compare notes, which I love. I absolutely love it because I learned from him. Now, one of the things that he talked about was the first thing he was concerned about was being bored in this place, but he was smart. He had taken a few trips there in the past, kind of looked around and like, you know what, I like this. I can do this. And so he's got a routine that he does every day. Now it's got great flexibility, like mine does, because I have a to-do list, but sometimes it gets cut short because the weather is similar to what it is today, and I take my behind to the beach because I can, right? But Lance has really set himself up well. He's 66. He's retired. His wife is 65. She's still back in the States finishing up. He told her, I don't know why. He told me, I don't know why she's waiting. She could have been down here like I was a year ago, but she wants to come back and forth. But they're set for life, guys. He's happy. He's jovial. We were cracking jokes. He was lamenting about some of his friends who were still back in the States that lean on substances to try to deal with that hypervigilance, that code switching, that anxiety, that weighted vest that we have to wear. And, you know, some of his friends have health issues, as do mine back in the States. And I'm in my 50s, right? I've lost friends due to health situations. So it was great to talk to him. And then talking to John in person, getting to meet him and understanding his story. He's been in education for years, guys, and he's retired. He's got a pension. Very intelligent brother, and very thoughtful. And so he was asking very good questions, and I was asking very good questions. And we just had a very spirited conversation. And he was very pleased with our exchange and the fact that now we have a connection that we'll continue to build on. And so I just want to give you guys those two examples of success stories that, look, schedule a free throw 15, put free throw 15 in the comments if you want to get a free 15-minute call with yours truly. Now, I would ask you this. I would ask you to be a black male over 50 years old with an interest within the next year or two of relocating outside the United States. If these three criteria aren't met, let's try to communicate a different way. But those free throw 15 calls are reserved for those black men who are ready to make that next move. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, JDP came with another one. The Filipino government can be corrupt, like most governments around the world. Filipino women usually want to marry foreign men, and age makes no difference in that scenario. Okay? Good stuff, JDP. I appreciate you, bro. Is it all right if I interview you? Because I would love to get your insight on the Philippines. So let's make that happen. Okay? All right. You see that relocation roadmap down there, free throw 15. Take that link down, put in the comments, or no, just put free throw 15 in the comments. I'll send you this link. But if you don't want to put it in the comments, there it is right there. You can, yes, that will take you to the scheduling page. You can schedule your particular call with me. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. From PTSD to Peace Pathway. Please consider joining Next Chapter Forward. I think this is something that Both Lance and John told me that, brother, you're on to something. This is a movement. You've got a lot of brothers thinking differently about this scenario. That's what we want to do, and we want to build each other. Guys, I'm a hoop head. I'm a basketball guy. I'm an expert in basketball. Life is basketball. And in basketball, team is everything. So next chapter forward is a big team of black men, copper-colored brothers from the United States that want something better with their lives. If that interests you, come on, guys. Get into the community. Let's go. Let's make this happen. Let's get these brothers to the finish line so we can continue to have more success stories so that we can build this community and reach back to those that need our help. That's what Next Chapter Forward is all about. Okay? I so appreciate you guys that were live, taking the time and interacting with me. I love you all. You all take care. If you haven't subscribed to Next Chapter Forward channel, please subscribe, like and share this content, and hit the notification bell so that you know anytime that I drop something new, you'll be notified. Okay, guys, have a great rest of your week. Have a great hump day like I'm about to. I got one more thing to do, and then I'm about to get it cracking, y'all, because the sun is out. It's 85 degrees here, and who knows what I'm going to get into, but it's going to be good. I know that. All right, guys. Love y'all. Until next time, holla, y'all.